And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Roger roll, Atlantic. Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.
Good morning. You are taking a live look at Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, where SpaceX is ready to try again to launch another batch of 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites on the Starlink 10-39 mission. I am Sawyer Rosenstein. I will be your host for this morning's broadcast from the Cape here, but as is always the case, I am not alone. I am also joined on commentary today by Alex. How's it going, Alex?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have Ryan today because, there's this thing called This Week in Spaceflight, and so he's editing that. But I'm still going to be here, so yeah, let's try it again, shall we?
Yeah, round 2, here we go. And we also have the team out in the field today. We have D. Wise and Jerry Pike, both out in the field for us this morning. I don't know if we have either of you on comms today, but hopefully the weather's holding up for you out there.
Yeah, it is certainly weather today. There is weather.
Well said. And the one who was showing us said views, at least bringing them to your screens, producing today is Jake Keegan. There we go. I'm sorry, are we still friends even though I just drew a blank there? As always, if you have questions, you can tag us at NASA Spaceflight or at NSF. And it appears in a panel that we have. It makes it easier to find all of the questions that you have. So, I think the first and biggest question that everyone is going to have, and I'm sure we will see posted every couple of minutes here in chat, is what happened yesterday? Alex, they haven't really given much of an update, but for those who missed yesterday's attempt, what happened?
Well, we went through the last few seconds of the count, basically down under 1 minute. It entered startup, the rocket went into its automated checks and pressurizing attacks, all the various things that happened under 1 minute. We heard the go for launch from the launch director, and we thought, yay, this is going in just a few seconds from now. And then at T-minus 28 seconds, the clock stopped. And there was nothing else being said by SpaceX, not in the comms net during the subsequent abort after that, and neither through X on the SpaceX account. They only said that vehicle and payload are healthy, basically, but they did not specify at any point what kind of scrub was for whatever reason. Like, okay, is it the vehicle? Is it the pad? Is it, I don't know, weather at the last minute? Maybe went red or something like that. Who knows? We have no idea right now. So, yeah. Quick answer, no idea.
I mean, that's the long answer too, because SpaceX hasn't said anything about it. So, yeah, other than, as you pointed out, that the vehicle and payload are healthy, which, whatever that means, obviously something wasn't healthy with a system somewhere, or else this rocket would not be on the pad today. It would be in space. Speaking of into space, of where this one is going, this is one of the northeasterly trajectory launches that we've been seeing as of late, and we'll probably continue to see until we get into the fall and winter months here in Florida when it comes to these Starlink missions. So we have a northeasterly trajectory, and that's kind of been the trend, especially for the most recent Group 10 flights that we've been seeing here at least. And the booster, Alex, that will be doing it is B1078, which has quite the history of Starlink launches, more so than anything.
Yeah, it will be the 30th launch for this booster, and you can see there's been a lot of Starlink missions. I know Ryan Caden did yesterday a rundown through every single past mission, all 29 of them, and of course this will be the 30th. But yeah, I mean, it's a Starlink nowhere, right? but one of the other things that I wanted to point out is that you can see there the fairing halves as well. Thanks to the scrub yesterday, we had close-ups of the fairings, and now they include the number on them. So we know the serial numbers now for these fairings, and it turns out one of them is on a record-breaking number here of 40 flights. So it will be the first fairing half that we know of that has reached 40 flights. If it launches today, that'll be 40 launches for serial number 155 of one of the fairing halves. In this case, it's the one that is opposite of the transport director, is the active half. There's one half that contains all of the pushers, and the other one is sort of pushed away from the other half, right? And so one gets pushed, the other pushes. So the one that is active is the one that is opposite of the transport reactor. There we go. Thank you. So we can see there, that's from the footage yesterday of that first launch attempt, and it's sort of the one on the left. You can kind of see that it's a bit more sooty because, you know, through re-entry, they still get a little bit of let's say, re-entry scars, so to speak. They still, this is another thing as well. They sometimes also paint again these fairings. So sometimes you see a fairing and you think, oh, it's new, it's a new fairing. And no, it might actually be a very old one, but they just repainted it, and so it looks like spanking brand new, basically. And so, yeah. And it's a record, man. Another record.
Yeah. The sixth booster, I believe, to join the 30 flight club, and the first fairing half to join the 40 flight club.
Yeah.
Which, appropriate that it's launching from 40.
And the better thing I'd say is that this will basically hit their mark in terms of how many times they wanted to fly these fairing halves. Because originally they were thinking like maybe 10 flights per booster, right? And then they do a really big overhaul. And over time, they have actually expanded that number for the boosters. And it's now up to 40. They want to do it. These flights for boosters. B1067 will be doing its 37th flight on the next Starlink mission out of the Cape, Starlink 1049. But the fairings also, where, you know, when they did the 40 thing for the boosters, they matched that as well with fairings. And so it was not just 40 flights with the boosters, but also for fairing halves. And this will be the first time that they have finally gotten to that milestone, that goal of 40 flights on a fairing half. So props to them, you know, because it's a long time. 40 launches is a lot of launches.
Now, depending on how the fairing survives this flight, do you think they'll push it to 50?
You know, I'd be surprised if they do, because it's not like they have a lot of Starlinks remaining, right? We know that they want to switch to Starship, and potentially maybe the next Starship launch is an operational one, which then begs the question of like how many Starlink launches are on Falcon 9 left, and it might not be many. And a lot of these high flight numbers are being basically thrown into these kind of launches on Starlink launches, and customer missions often get the ones that are lower numbers, lower flights, basically. So we'll see what happens, because it will be another 10 flights. It takes a while to get another 10 flights under their belts. Even with like a month turnaround, it's another 10 months. In 10 months, they're probably already fully into Starship operations at that point. So we'll see.
Wow. That's crazy to think that we're that close to Starship operations here at the Cape. I'm excited.
I want to
for
think
it.
so. But
Hopefully,
we'll
if
Yeah.
all goes well. But yeah, I mean, that's wild to think that it's ramping down. But when you do think about it, we've had what, 2 Starlink launches of late? All the rest have been customer missions from 40 here, at least. Obviously, the West Coast out in Vandenberg, they're doing a lot of Starlink launches there. They're kind of picking up the same cadence that we used to have here with Starlinks now over on the West Coast.
Yeah, getting into a cadence of about one launch every 3 or 4 days, which is really nice. I mean, the last time they had a turnaround at that pad that was longer than 3 days was like, what, 5, I think it was 6 flights ago with a turnaround of 6 days. And I think that was because of weather, that it was horrible at that point. So they had to delay. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there you go. There's all of the launches for Falcon 9 here. You see a lot of the Starlink. Anything that's a Group 17 is West Coast.
Or 15.
Group 10 is East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a lot of Group 17s in there and a couple of Group 10s. And of course, we had a couple of customer payload missions in there too. NRL 95. There was the MRV, MEV launch. There was what was the one? Was it the most recent one? That was the RTLS.
Global Star. Yeah.
Global Star. Yeah.
It's been an odd thing because we had been used to a lot of Starlinks, right? And then suddenly we had multiple customer missions back to back to back. Like we had BlueBird 8 to 10, Starfall, SXM 11, like 3 in a row. Then 3 Starlinks, but then again 3 customer missions with MRV1, NRL 95, and then the other trio of BlueBirds. 1 Starlink there, and then Global Star, which was the last launch. And now, so far, we have today's Starlink. There's another Starlink in about 3 days or so. And then we'll see, because maybe the next launch after that might actually be Crew 13.
Well, from 40, yeah.
From 40, yeah.
We
meant
still have
40, yeah.
Roman in there as of now, no earlier than the 30th. And there's a Starlink launch from the West Coast as well, set for about 17 hours from now for Group 15. But yeah.
And as Jay was showing there, you can also filter out by launch pad, by location in general. I think there's also like a general location that is LC39A or Slick 40, maybe.
Which that's what is selected up there right now. So
no, but like one single filter, I think.
So you're saying you can do all this on nextspaceflight.com or in the Next Spaceflight app on your phone? Wow, you should totally go download it. Oh boy. Let's hey, there you go. You can get the app. It also kind of gives you a bit of a forecast there, although it's a kind of rounding of it. Let's check in with the field team weather-wise. I know, D, you said there is weather, but how is it looking, and what are we looking at forecast-wise here, percentage-wise?
Yeah, so as you would expect for the summer, it gets weather gets worse towards the afternoon. So towards the start of the window, it's actually an 85% go, which is pretty good. Out here looking around, we do have a lot of clouds in the sky, but they are pretty disconnected, and then a lot of more upper level. But as we get towards later in the window, the weather does deteriorate down to a 45% go. But hopefully that will not be relevant today, and they will target here towards the start of the window. And it's those clouds that they're looking at that are the primary concern. So that's the cumulus cloud rule, the anvil cloud rule, and the thick cloud layers rule. But it's only the local weather that is too much of a concern. The booster recovery and solar activity are both low additional risk criteria. So hopefully they can get Falcon 9 launched here at the start of the window, and we can get a launch on this beautiful summer day.
I sure hope so. And if I will add, if you stuck around on Space Coast Live yesterday after the attempt of Falcon 9, if you stuck around to when the end of the window would have been around 2 p.m. local time, it was thunderstorms and raining and lightning at the hut here. So definitely would not have been launching in that. So hopefully we're at the beginning of the window, because basically to be expected every day here.
Yeah. That's Florida weather right there. And that's why it is the cumulus and anvil and thick cloud rules, because it's all about those afternoon storms that wash in. Tons of thunder, tons of lightning, just missing the locusts, the plague, and all of that. But That's the fun in Florida in the summer, and then it goes away, and then it's 105 degrees Fahrenheit. So over 40 Celsius. We are coming up now under 40 minutes to go, and we should be about a minute away from the first major event happening on today's timeline. And that will hopefully be the launch director giving the go for propellant load for today's mission. If they do, then propellant load will begin at T-minus 35 minutes, starting with the liquid oxygen and the RP-1, or rocket propellant 1, on stage 1, and just the RP-1 on stage 2. That's the refined kerosene that they use. That will continue till about 20 minutes and 20 seconds when the loading of the RP-1 on stage 2 wraps up. Once that's done, we'll see the chill down of the line that is then used to load up the liquid oxygen since it's a lot colder. And then at about T-minus 16 minutes, that is when they should switch over to LOX load on stage 2. You can see there now on the left side of your screen, all those major milestones that I just mentioned there. Those should hopefully be coming up very soon. And again, we don't get to hear any of the go, no-go polls in terms of prop load, and they don't get to say go for prop load, so a lot of it's just keeping an eye on the rocket, keeping an eye on the booster, and seeing if we see frost there. 98 Central with a good question, Alex. They're asking, does Octograbber do more than anchor the booster to the drone ships after landing?
It actually doesn't even do that. The Octograbber is just big and heavy, and so when it grabs onto the booster, it just provides a lot more surface area for basically, like, there are tank treads, if you can call it like that, on the bottom of the Octograbber, and so that provides a lot of more surface area. And so if you want to move the booster, then you need to counteract that surface friction, basically. So it takes more force in order to be able to move it. And the extra mass, the thing that is very heavy and it masses a lot, that Octograbber, then it also lowers further the center of gravity of the whole thing, of the whole assembly, and so that helps being able to do that. Other than that, after the booster is secured mechanically, they do have connections for the quick disconnects. They do a lot of the drain backs and things like that. There's always like a little bit of kerosene left in the tank, for example. The liquid oxygen boils off, but the kerosene doesn't, mostly. And so what happens is that the kerosene needs to be drained back. And so one of the things that they do is that they also go up and connect to the like data lines and things like that. They also have to purge certain portions of the pressurization system. We've seen this through many recoveries, that they come back and you see different pipes being basically attached to the quick disconnects on the booster at the bottom of the booster. And sometimes they are even like routed through the arms of the Octograbber. I don't know if that in particular is automated, but it seems like they at least use it as the base for being able to do all of that operation. But yeah, that's basically, like, it doesn't even anchor. As I said, there's no anchoring system. Say, for example, like New Glenn, it does have the welding thing, more like a pin that they sort of guide into the through the legs. You know what I mean, right? When they land and they detonate this sort of pyrotechnic device, and it drives a pin through the deck, and that sort of holds the booster in place. So that is not there on Octograbber or anything like that. It's just very heavy, lots of surface area.
Yeah, I do like that they literally just fire spikes into the base of it, and it's like, now you're stuck to the drone ship. There you go.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know if you guys have seen the Chuke 3 or whatever it's pronounced. I'm sorry, but it had a fire in its aft, and one of the legs collapsed, and the thing is now on the ground, basically. So you can even tip over even if you are on land.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Also, it could have. So basically, it's the Chinese SN10 in a way.
Or the Chinese B1086. Remember that booster that also fell off because of a leg?
Oh yeah, forgot that one. That was the one that was lost at sea, right?
That one, yeah. So it actually landed already almost on fire on the aft section because they had a leak that had occurred basically during ascent. It landed, but within a minute, it was engulfed in flames, and that melted part of the connections with the landing legs and whatnot. And yeah, the whole thing tipped over and broke off. When we saw it coming back, it was like you could see parts of the aluminum just basically melted even because of the fire. But yeah,
This was the Chinese landing that we were talking about, by the way,
Mhm.
where, of course, the part that's been released clearest to the rest of the world is all the good stuff, not as much it being on its side afterwards. But you can see they're the newest company to join the landing a first stage game, adding to reusability across the globe.
Yep.
I mean, we also had the one where it touched down, and then, of course, Jack said bingo right in the center, as it then began to immediately tip over. So, yeah.
We're beaten 62.
No. Troy Rupert is wondering, how much money has SpaceX saved with reusing the two fairing halves? Well over 250 million, question? I would imagine it's a lot, because each one is, what is it, $2 or $3 million per fairing half?
Might be more if you include the whole reusability part, but I mean, I would say more than saved, how much money they have made. Because not having to make new fairings takes a while. Those fairings are huge, right? And you can imagine composites, they normally take time to lay down the fibers and then the curing process and everything. It's a big structure. Again, it's like 5.2 meters in diameter and 13 meters in length. So every fairing half is huge. Now imagine having to lay down all of the carbon fiber and everything. It's also an aluminum honeycomb as well. That is sort of the core material. So it takes a long time to make one of these. Imagine just not having to make them at all. And just being able to fly more often, because one pair of fairings, you can just basically fly them every couple of weeks or something like that. I mean, this one in particular, I think it last launched 2 weeks ago. So it had a turnaround of about 2 weeks, which means, I mean, how many times can you fly these fairings in between making new ones? Maybe it takes, even if it takes like 2 months to make a new fairing half, that's 4 or 5 flights that you can get out of that in between making new ones. That's a lot of money that you can make out of that by launching customer missions, Starlink satellites that give connectivity to people that then pay for the service, and SpaceX gets that money too. So who knows? I mean, that's probably even more than what they save.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely been a moneymaker. I mean, it was, what did Elon describe it? It was just money falling out of the sky.
Yeah.
So, makes sense.
I think I can see already some condensation there around the base of the booster, which will indicate we're in propel mode.
Need your help looking to see if you can see that frost line starting to form, because they should be in prop load. It looks like it. I'm starting to see some condensate. Yeah, some of the vapors there.
Mm-hmm.
It has
because with this level of suit, boy, it's really complicated to see the frost. But at least the outside, it's sort of like when you have like a really cold beer or something like that, or whatever other beverage that you want to have or whatever. But taken to the extreme, instead of having just a little bit of humidity on the outside of the can or something, it's actually like the plumes of venting and condensation coming up. You can kind of see that already there on the booster.
Yeah. Also, I love how the immediate thing that you went to first was beer, not like a soda or a cold water.
I actually don't drink beer, but I know a lot of people out there might have drank beer in their lives. I'm more of a soda person, although lately more like a juice person, but we're not here to discuss food.
We're not?
You'd think we would, because we
But this is a Falcon 9 lunch. Oh, it's a Falcon 9 launch, not a lunch.
Yeah. It's not a lunch, it's a launch.
As we are now under 30 minutes to go until said launch here of the Starlink 10-39 mission, bringing 29 more of those Starlink V2 mini satellites into orbit. Someone said, do I need to watch part 1 from yesterday to understand the stream? No, you do not. The launch attempts continue to occur, and of course, we'll re-go over some of the facts of the mission, the vehicle, anything like that. And of course, if you have questions, just like you did, tag us at SF or at NASA Spaceflight. We don't mind answering them. That's what we're here for. That's why we hang out before these launches and watch as the prop loads and chat with all of you.
I was going to make the joke. You need to watch all 415 previous Starlink launches in order to understand this one. Yeah, man, 416th dedicated launch for Starlink. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. It really is. It's just mind-boggling. Let's see here. While we're still talking about the fairings, Lincoln MT is asking, how many miles downrange do the fairings splash down? And I believe they get a little bit more of a trajectory downrange than just the booster part itself. So stage 1, obviously, it touches down on the drone ship. In this case, it's going on a northeasterly trajectory. And you could see there that sort of weird shape off by the Carolinas. So that is where the first stage will hopefully land, but that's a pretty long swatch of ocean, and about 100 kilometers beyond that is about where the fairings touch down, if I'm remembering rightly, Alex.
Yeah, the booster drone ship is about 600 kilometers. Let me translate that into miles for this person, because I looked up the other one. Yeah, that will be about 370 miles out there. For the fairings, it's usually about 50 to 100 kilometers further down, so it's about 400 to 440 miles out there. So yeah, it also depends as well, like on the trajectory. If it's southeast, it may be a bit of a different distance, but usually these distances are like by a few tens of kilometers, but not hundreds of them, for example. So it's not a huge difference when we're talking about, a rocket that stages at something like 2,000 meters per second or something like that. So yeah, it's not a huge difference in that sense.
Yeah, that's why it can all fit within that. I don't even know what shape to call it. That area of the non-Mars and TFRs and stuff.
It's an hexagon, right? Because it's got 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, hexagon. It's just a weirdly shaped one, but it's got six sides. So I guess it works.
It does. And Jerry, as our person who ends up flying the drone around the port a lot and things like that, it's interesting to see how the fleet has changed dramatically in terms of recovery. I mean, of course, we had 2 drone ships. Now we're down to 1. Are they still using both of the fairing recovery vessels, or are they kind of consolidated a bit?
I mean, at this time, yeah, they definitely are using both Bob and Doug. I believe it was Bob recently went up to Jacksonville for a dry dock maintenance period. So they definitely are committed to upkeeping and maintaining their vessels as of late. I know that at some point, I don't know where this would be. Somewhere on Twitter or X, somebody asked, I believe it was Kiko, about is there potential for bringing one of them to the other coast, or do we need 2 here now that the operations have ramped down? And he said, something vague, stay tuned, ... So it wasn't a yes, they're both staying here, but it also wasn't a no, we're selling one of them. But as of right now, they're both definitely in operation here at the Cape. But obviously only down to 1 drone ship with the Shortfall or Gravitas. Now that Just Read the Instructions is out of commission for Falcon and supposedly being transitioned over to Starship, but I've, again, like everybody, yet to see any work on that actually happen. So yeah, we'll be standing by to wait for that. There it is. Just read the instructions in the port right there. So nothing has happened as of late, but hopefully we'll see some action soon.
And video game developer with an important question. Has anyone actually read the instructions?
I would love to have access to the instructions, but I can't. How about that?
There you go. Yeah. Just read the instructions. What instructions? Let's see here. Jason Hassan coming in, and I'll throw this one to you, D, because you were out there with the joyousness that was yesterday's attempt. Do we know what caused the lack of launch yesterday? The S word?
So I don't think we have any specific answer or we've heard anything specifically. However, based on the timing, we saw the LD give the go for launch, followed by the timeline moving into that hold. So that kind of seems like it would have been something automated, but maybe it could have been something on the range side that came up. I have not heard any specific answer there, and I would love to know. And if y'all learn, let me know for sure.
Yeah, nobody knows. It was just vehicle and payload are safe. That was all we got. So yeah, we don't know because SpaceX. What we do know is that that cloud is one of the angrier type clouds out there, though. That's not a fun cloud to fly through. But there's still
Definitely not a fan of this cloud right now. Needs to go somewhere else.
Why don't we take the cloud and put it somewhere else? But yeah, no, it's we still have 23 minutes and 20 seconds to go. And while yes, there was a window for today, once SpaceX begins fueling Falcon 9 because of their load and go procedure, they are committed to said T0. So they are committed to the 11:14 a.m. launch time today and 22 seconds. Let's see. Sasquatch is wondering how many Starlinks are in the constellation now, and when they start launching Starship-sized Starlink sats, will they reduce the constellation size? What do you think, Alex?
Well, I mean, there's multiple different ways of telling you this because it's not easy, but I'm trying to find the Jonathan McDowell. There we go. Hang on. I'm currently looking it up. But yeah, for how many Starlinks there are right now, it would be about 11,000 I'm seeing here. Yeah. 11,000. There have been about 1,700 of them that have been deorbited. So almost 13,000 of them have been launched, almost. About 200 or so short of that. But yeah, there's been almost 1,800 of them already deorbited. So we're about to 11,000 of them currently in orbit right now. Now, for the other part of the question, what was it? Hang on. I'm still on the other side. There we go. When they start launching Starship-sized Starlink sats, will that reduce? No. So that's another thing as well. They don't only want to launch the bigger satellites, but also have more of them in orbit. So eventually, they're going to be replacing the satellites that are being launched right now, the V2 minis, by the V3s, but also they have an application for another set of orbits and another set of shells and all that stuff around the globe in order to be able to launch the V3 satellites into those orbits. And so their goal is to eventually, in that third constellation, have like 100,000 of them in that one. Will they do that? It's going to take a while to get there, but we'll see. And, you know, if you count the other ones that they have, the first and second generation, it will be something like 34,000 or so. So it gets to about 134,000 in total right now that they could, you know, in theory, launch if they really had the opportunity. But, you know, it will need many, many launches to do that.
Yeah, just a few. But then again, they want so many Starship launches, you know, where eventually it could be every hour.
Oh, yeah.
That won't be an issue as much. Also, it's crazy how much faster they can fuel a Starship now than they used to. I mean, almost as long as it takes to fill a Falcon 9, especially because right now they've finished filling the RP-1 on stage 2, as you can tell by the very faint 20-minute, 20-second vent coming behind that tree there. So, as mentioned, that means RP-1 load is complete, and that is closer to ambient temperature. The liquid oxygen is super chilled, so it's not just cold, it's extra cold. That way they can get more of it in there because of the whole denseness of it. But being so cold, they want to thermally condition the lines that it's about to run through so that you're not putting super cold stuff through room temperature and then run the risk of damage to your lines. So this thermal conditioning should last till about the T-minus 16-minute mark, and then once that vent disappears, we will know liquid oxygen load is underway on Stage 2. Meanwhile, Stage 1 locks and Stage 1 RP1 are continuing to load at this time. And so far, everything proceeding towards the launch of the Starlink 10-39 mission, with 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites happening in about 19 minutes and 14 seconds from now. And as we see the soon-to-be newest member of the 30 Flight Club, B1078, get loaded up with those propellants. This one, a reminder, is going towards the northeast and will hopefully land on the drone ship, a Shortfall of Gravitas. It's still weird to me that there's basically only 2 operational drone ship landings now, having a Shortfall of Gravitas here on the East Coast, and of course, I Still Love You on the West Coast, with Just Read the Instructions now retired from Falcon use, at least. And they've had different versions of all these too, Alex. Like, this isn't V1 of course, I Still Love You, Just Read the Instructions. Has gone through a lot of reworking when it was still being used. It's crazy how they've evolved over the years.
Yeah, I mean, Just Read the Instructions. I'm sad that was the one that was retired because it had its own deluge system, right? And it's sad that, we have not seen that on a Shortfall of Gravitas or, of course, I Still Love You. So, yeah, but hey, maybe at some point, I have no idea. But it was a really nice touch to just read the instructions.
Yeah. And you could see sitting there in port, just waiting around. It almost looks like you've got all the stuff on it. It almost looks like it's a storage platform at this point. Just kind of funny. But, we also saw yesterday that they're using LZ40 as a bit of a storage platform too, which is kind of funny. They have just some SPMTs hanging out there on the landing zone, which obviously will have to move by the 30th, but I guess it's just extra land.
Yeah.
Let me see. Ethereal Swordsman coming in here, saying, as we say in the weather community, respect the polygons. Yep, if you see a polygon on a weather map, that's usually not a good thing. Although, this wasn't the weather map, that was just the trajectory. But looking at said weather, is that a little bit concerning?
It certainly is. I don't want to say concerning yet, but absolutely, like, these clouds are what the weather officers are going to be keeping an eye on. Like, the clouds are their primary concern. So they will be looking at all of these, and there are so many intricate details that actually determine whether clouds are acceptable or not acceptable. And so there's like the anvil clouds rule, but then it's also like the connection between anvil clouds. And so I can't pretend to be a weather officer, but no doubt SpaceX and the 45th have their people that are keeping an eye on all of these criteria to make sure that they met. But I wouldn't say I'm overly concerned because some of the thicker clouds are more over the press site area than the actual area at Slick 40. I think it's a little bit more clear in that direction, but I don't know. I do not love the weather today.
Definitely seemed nicer for yesterday's attempt, but we have what we have here. And again, with the fueling underway, they are committed. So it's not like they can push it a little bit and say, "Oh, we'll try later in the window." No, they're set on their current T0.
I think if I had to sum it up into one word, it would be suboptimal. Not great, not terrible.
I feel like I'm watching Chernobyl. Not great, not terrible. But yes. Hopefully, though, chat can will this into existence and actually have it launch 15 minutes from now. Because I don't know about you guys, but I want to see this thing off the pad. I don't want to be back here tomorrow doing this again. Oh boy. Let's see here. SND SI right was saying, so is this a return to launch site? No, this is a drone ship landing. So this will go towards the northeast downrange. Now, I guess it's kind of worth noting we see a lot of downrange landings, and we did have a couple of RTLSs recently with NROL and with the I keep forgetting Globestar. How does SpaceX decide which one is a drone ship landing and which one is an RTLS, Alex?
Well, you first look at what the rocket can do and then where it's going, right? If the payload is light enough, so say for example, because this launch in particular is like about 17 tons, a little bit under 17 metric tons, but it's going to low Earth orbit, right? So it's a very heavy, it's a low orbit, but it's a very heavy payload. Say you're carrying 3 tons instead, 3 metric tons to low Earth orbit, then you have plenty of performance in order to be able to do a return to launch site, or even have, just like on Globalstar, a stubby nozzle on the MVAC engine, because you can save some money there, sometimes on the manufacturing process, etc., etc. However, those 3 metric tons, if you were to tell me, no, I'm carrying those 3 metric tons to the moon, for example, or to Mars or something like that, which Falcon 9 can do, by the way, maybe even have to be expended. That, like, at that point, because you're carrying to such a huge and high orbit and with high energy, you might even need to expand the booster. This is basically the two big things that they need to look at when it comes to, okay, what kind of recovery can I do with my booster? If it's low enough of an orbit and it's also a low payload mass, then you can do an RTLS, a return to launch site landing. If it is a high orbit but a low payload, then it depends how high it is. Maybe you can still do an RTLS, but might be a bit marginal, right? So you start dipping into drone ship territory. Or if it's straight up just a heavy payload, say like a 5 metric ton sort of geostationary satellite, and you're getting it to a geostationary transfer orbit, those are mostly all the time drone ship landings, as we've been covering in the past. Like the most recent one, I think it was SXM-11. Actually, no. The most recent one was MRV-1 that went also to a geostationary transfer orbit, but that was going to a really high orbit as well, and it was expended because of that. So just to put into perspective here, the two main things that you got to take into account is how far away you're throwing your payload, and also how big it is, how much mass you're carrying into that high or low orbit, depending on where you're going. So that'll be the thing that determines whether it goes back to land or has to go to a drone ship, or even, as I said, gets expended.
It's always sad to see them get expended, even though that was the norm for like 60 years, which is kind of wild. But yeah, it's we've been lucky with a lot of RTLSs recently, with the couple that we've had. And when it comes to Starlinks, I think it's also worth noting that that's basically some of the heaviest payloads that Falcon 9 launches is these Starlink satellites. So, of course, they want every ounce of performance they can get while still launching as many satellites as possible. And that's why we tend to see a lot of the drone ship landings with Starlinks, even though there was one point where the cadence was so high that they were discussing, maybe we consider actually doing a landing at an RTLS, put a couple less satellites on it, do RTLS that we can get more launches in there, which now that they're scaling back the Starlink launches, at least from the Cape on Falcon 9, yeah, that doesn't seem like something we'll see anymore. I don't think we'll see any Starlink RTLSs, Alex, here in Florida, will we?
Very unlikely, and I don't think we're going to see that at all with Falcon 9. However, Starship is going to be your Starlink RTLS because the booster is always coming back to land. So unless they, for whatever reason, they think it needs to be expended or something, which I really doubt with Super Heavy and 33, excuse me, I was thinking also about the ship. With 33 engines, that thing probably shouldn't be expended once they start catching boosters on the regular. But yeah.
And hopefully the ship will come back too, So yeah, both stages returning. So you could say the 39 engines. All I can think of is from last night's stream where we were putting merch on a Starship ship to see where would the flaps go through the sleeve holes? Would it be ears? It was just funny because we were talking about the back to school collection that we have over at shop.nasaspaceflight.com, which, in case you didn't know, we have children's sizes too of some of our favorite merch over there. So with it being back to school, if you're looking to get someone a cool space shirt so that they can wear it in school and talk to their friends about it and start them out early as a space geek and space enthusiast, you should totally check out that part of shop.nasaspaceflight.com. And if they're too young for school, as you can see, we have the baby onesies as well. Really get them started young and go, you're going to be a Space Geek fan, and get them hooked. So you could check out the children's section, especially with back to school happening now at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. And by the way, if you do have a child who has a favorite design from one of our regular collections too, and you don't see it, send a message to the shop team, and we'll see if they can make that happen for you.
We don't guarantee that the TPS collection is anti-boo-boos. See, we say the same thing for the adults part, right? So might as well do that for the kids collection.
Yeah, there you go. Protect yourself from the heat of homework or something. I don't know. I could have come up with something better for that. Anyway, you can see the TPS collection there. Shop.nasaspaceflight.com. So we are now about 8 minutes to go until today's launch of these Starlink V2 mini satellites, 29 of them on the Starlink 10-39 mission. And if that sounds familiar, that's because, yeah, this is take 2. Yesterday's attempt was called off at about 28 seconds to go. The reason has not been said by SpaceX, so we don't know exactly what it was and why that happened, but it has happened. And so we are here again today for take 2. Fueling is underway, and the next major step is the engine chill, Alex. Can you kind of explain that?
Yeah, so hopefully in about 7.5 minutes from now, those engines will ignite. And when that happens, they have pumps that basically suck in all of the RP1 and the liquid oxygen from the main tanks and makes them drive through the engine to be able to be burned and things like that. So that means there is a pump on each of the Merlin engines that takes in the very, very cold liquid oxygen. Now, if you were to do that right away without any preparation, first of all, the pump is empty. So starting to suck in nothing basically from those pumps will not be a very good day for those pumps, basically. Will not be a really nice day for them. But also, there's the matter as well with the chill down as well, which is the important part here that we were mentioning, is that they will be at room temperature, at ambient temperature. And whatever temperature you can think of in Florida is like boiling hot for the oxygen, right? So you need to condition that. You need to make it go down in temperature and ready it well ahead of time before you ignite those engines and you let all of that liquid oxygen go through the pumps. And so that's basically what they're doing. They're letting a little bit of that liquid oxygen drop into the pump, fill it up so that it's full when it starts, but also so that it gets down to the appropriate temperatures. The liquid oxygen does boil off when this happens, because obviously if the pump gets cooled, the oxygen gets warm up, and so they vent that out, but not a big deal. There's already ports on the octaweb to vent all of that and things like that, so it's all accounted for.
It is, and as we've been watching those clouds there, it seems like these tend to be more over the press site, which, I mean, a little bit rough for Jerry, who you can see there in the frame, and DYs, but better that it's clear over the pad, so hopefully the weather will hold up.
If we can have a little bit of help, like, shoo, way, come on, get away.
Yeah, this is where we need box fans to blow the clouds away.
True.
Let me take a moment before we get to the crazy part of the count here to thank some people. Mr. ACP, it seems like weather can have a large impact on go, no-go. What can they do? What are they planning to do on hardening the rockets against the weather? Well, I mean, they've already said that Starship can launch in a thunderstorm, which most rockets tend not to do because you don't want to get struck by lightning. That's also why they have the cloud rules for, like, today's launch. I mean, I don't know what they're doing to it, but apparently they're beefing up Starship so that it can.
Yeah, basically trying to make it, airline-like sort of operations. I will say, though, if you do have a lightning storm coming through and you know that it's going to go away in like 30 minutes, airlines normally do delay because of that. They don't want to take the chances sometimes. You try to, especially because they carry dozens, hundreds of people sometimes. So you want to side with a more reasonable thing. If you're already on the tarmac and things like that, maybe you just go ahead and fly, right? But if you're not there yet, sometimes these flights do get delayed, and I would expect the same thing with Starship in the future, where, yeah, if it's already fueled on the ground and things like that, might as well just launch it. But if not, if you can take a 30-minute delay to let the thunderstorm pass and things like that, yeah, might take the safer approach.
Yep, and as you're there, strongback retract underway. See the clamps opening up underneath the fairing halves, including one that is flying for the 40th time. And now the strongback will lean back about 1.8 degrees. Once it gets to liftoff, it will throw all the way back. But so far, on track for launch. Let me also thank Amy Carter-Catero saying, I'm rooting for Jenny Gibbons and Christina Cook. Will Blue Origin have a second pad at Kennedy Space Center? Yes, they will. They will have LC-36B. And if you tune into the Flame Trench later today at 5 Eastern, you'll see that, because that is one of the topics that we will be discussing. And Bideford with the $25 support. Thank you so much, Bideford. Saying, so nice hearing Sleepy Sawyer, Alex, and D. Okay. We got a rocket launch happening. That's exciting.
I'm not sleepy, by the way.
That's why I just said Sleepy Sawyer, not Sleepy Alex.
Oh, I thought it meant like all three.
Oh, no, I think it just meant me. But at this point now, coming up on 3 minutes to go until liftoff. Should be wrapping up some propellant loads shortly. So what can we expect these last 3 minutes, Alex?
Yeah, indeed. So all of the kerosene has been loaded already on both stages. And as we just heard, now the liquid oxygen load has been completed on the first stage. So first stage, fully loaded. There's still a little bit of more liquid oxygen to load on the second stage, but that's probably already being closed out and finishing up all of those operations. We'll hear that call out probably in about 30 seconds from now. After that ends, that will mean Falcon 9 is fully loaded with propellants. So they're going to be preparing for liftoff by draining back all of the lines to the second stage, depressurizing some of the systems in the Stromback, and things like that in order to save the ground systems. You don't want all of those to be fully energized before the liftoff happens, and so you basically save all of those things. We're going to see those ventings coming off from the Stromback. And then hopefully at T-1 minute, we'll have startup when the rocket takes over control of the countdown. Pressurize the tanks, all of the different things, goes into internal power. Then hopefully a few seconds later, there's a call out. So Falcon 9 is now fully loaded with propellant. But yeah, hopefully a few seconds after startup, we're going to get that go for launch from the launch reactor. And hopefully this time it actually launches. Let's go.
Yes, please let it launch today. Last time it held at 28 seconds. Let's not have that today. Coming up on 90 seconds now should be the gas line closeout that you were just mentioning.
Gas closeouts.
There we go.
All right. As you mentioned, purging the lines, kind of shutting down that part of the system and getting ready for launch. So next up, the major milestone, as Alex mentioned, is Falcon 9 entering startup and the tanks pressurizing to their final flight levels. That will begin in about 5 seconds. And a reminder, our stream is a couple seconds ahead our feed here because of the latency. So you'll hear their call-outs a couple seconds after.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There we go. Falcon 9 is entered startup. When that clock in the top left hits 0, hopefully the rocket on your screen should be starting to lift off. Next up is the go for launch from the launch director. Let's listen.
Launch director, go for launch.
There we go. That's what we like to hear. Coming up on 30 seconds to go. Don't worry, I'll stop talking after it lifts off. It does take some time, though, for the sound to get to our microphones, so it may take a little bit till you hear it. All right, we've already progressed further than we did during yesterday's attempt. We've passed the point where they held. So far, so good. Coming up now, 15 seconds to go. At about 7 seconds is when they will start lighting those engines with the T-tab with the green flash. It's hard to see behind the trees there. With ignition, hopefully at about 3 seconds. Here we go. Ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9 and the Starlink 10-39 mission. The newest booster to join the 30 Flight Club is on its way. About a minute 15 seconds into flight now. Falcon 9 passing through max Q. That is the most aerodynamic forces that it will be facing on its way uphill during today's flight. And at this point now, it's getting to the thinner parts of the atmosphere, and the plume should start to expand as it gets into those thinner parts. It's also when we kind of see the color change a bit from orange to bluish. But those darn clouds, I tell you, seeing it from the rocket view, there's not that many clouds, but they just happen to be right over where our team is with the cameras, because of course.
Yeah, space nerds yell at cloud.
It's a pretty common trend. Although we could see it at liftoff, so different from certain coasts. Coming up now on about 20 seconds to go from a couple of events in rapid succession. That being MECO, main engine cutoff, when those 9 Merlin 1D engines shut down, followed by first and second stage separation, and that will be followed after that by SCS-1, second engine start 1, when the Merlin vacuum engine on stage 2 ignites. There's MECO. Next up will be the separation. And let's see if we can see the flash of stage 2 igniting from the ground here. There it is. It looks like stage 2 ignition.
Should be coming up on fairing separation now.
Yep, those 2 fairing halves will fall away, and they will splash down in the Atlantic Ocean to be recovered, in fact. One of those setting a record for the most flights by a fairing halve at 40 flights.
Yep. The other still is quite an old one. It's still 32nd flight for the other half. There we go. Maybe we'll see it fly off. Ah, reflection.
There
it is.
You can see it, especially on the right side there. So with that, those will fall down and parachute down to be recovered downrange by Doug, the vessel.
Yeah, just to put in perspective, the craziness of the reuse on this flight is that the booster has already done its 30th launch. Of course, it needs now to do its 30th landing, hopefully in a few minutes from now. The fairing halves, one of them 32nd flight, the other 40th flight. Isn't that crazy that we are, like, every single thing in this flight is well past 30 flights now?
It's amazing. I mean, it's a testament to what we've been seeing with SpaceX and how they've been improving reusability over the years.
Yeah.
As more companies now join the reusability club, at least. And you can see there on the left, those grid fins have deployed. That will help steer Falcon 9 once it gets into the thicker parts of the atmosphere. For right now, the main thing you're going to see for the maneuvering are those little flashes on your screen. That is the cold gas jet thrusters that are used for maneuvering. That's going to kind of keep it in line. And in about a minute or so, it should be reaching apogee, or the highest point in its trajectory. And once it does that, you'll start to see that altitude number drop and the speed increase. There we go. Speed's starting to go up again, and the altitude is decreasing. So it is now past the highest point, and that means it is on its way downhill. And the Shortfall of Gravitas is waiting to the northeast in the ocean for the booster to hopefully come and touch down on it in under 4 minutes.
Yeah, if anybody is wondering about the fairing halves, those are going to take a little bit longer. They use thrusters in order to orient themselves with the bottom end, the roundy part of the fairing instead of the open part, right? The roundy end that sort of is facing the wind, and it's sort of like a surfboard basically, but it's instead of surfing through the atmosphere. And then once it comes out and it slows down from that reentry, then it pops out a parachute and then it splashes down. But the parachute it takes a while, right? Because if you've seen anybody jumping off from a plane with a parachute or something, it takes a while. It takes minutes and minutes. So actually, the booster lands first, and then the fairing halves something like 30 minutes after launch. It's actually when they touch down. So it takes a while.
And coming up next will be the entry burn. That starts with a singular engine on the first stage, followed by 3 total engines igniting. And that will help slow the vehicle down by fighting fire with the supersonic retro propulsion, as
Stage 1
EJ
entry burn
loves to
startup.
point out. And you'll see there in the graphic it goes to 1 and then 3. And you can tell it goes to 3 on the screen because now it looks more like a rectangle. But yes, that's sort of creating a thermal heat shield. So it's creating a way to protect itself from the re-entry forces by basically creating a heat shield
Stage
out of
1
heat
entry burn
through it.
shutdown.
That's why we say fire with fire.
Stage 1.
And there we go.
yes,
That
safe.
looked good. Now the booster will do some more orienting to get itself ready to hopefully hit the target and stay on the target, not just hit it, land on it, which is a shortfall of Gravitas. It's also when we should start seeing those grid fins get active in a little bit, as we now get into the thicker parts of the atmosphere where they're actually useful, as it is 30 kilometers in altitude and decreasing. Meanwhile, stage 2... Meanwhile, stage 2 now 17,500 kilometers an hour, 153 kilometers in altitude. So far, so good there.
I love it when it's like this perspective of the clouds in the horizon, because you can see it fighting through the atmosphere.
Yeah, you can see that grid fin on the right there starting to move a bit. And now we'll keep an eye out to see if we can see the drone ship. It's sometimes easier to see the drone ship actually at
Stage
night
1
beforehand
transonic.
because of the light. But we'll see. It's now going slow. And now it should be doing that kind of final turn there. A reminder that it initially does not aim for the deck of the drone ship. It aims just next to it.
Audio from the drone ship again?
I hope so. We've been getting it recently.
Yeah, I hear sounds. I get to hear the sonic boom, in fact.
Stage 1 landing burn. Stage 2
There's
is
the drone ship.
guidance.
Oh, there it is.
There's the sonic booms.
Stage 1 landing light deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Beautiful. That is touchdown of another booster joining the 30 flight club. Now getting the dash 31 at the end of its name there.
Yes, safe.
I'm back shut
That was a
down.
beautiful view.
And they're shut down. Hopefully we'll hear nominal orbital insertion.
Nominal orbit insertion.
There it is.
There we go. That's what we like to hear. Falcon 9 delivering the Starlink satellites to their initial parking orbit right as planned. And the landing smack dab in the center there. That's what we'd like to see. So now we have booster 1078 being the 6th to join the 30 flight club. And now 29 more Starlink V2 mini satellites hopefully on their way into orbit. Oh man, that was for what we could see at least. That was pretty. I don't know about the field team. How was it from where you guys were? I mean, we saw the cool behind the scenes of it poking through the clouds.
You know, it's I cannot complain. We had a launch despite the clouds, and actually looking at the clouds, it's almost as if I can see a hole punched through the clouds where Falcon 9 went. I'm not sure if that's actually the case, but it seems like it. And yeah, I do like a little bit of texture in the sky. It does make some of the flight shots far cooler when you can actually see how fast Falcon 9 is going. I would have loved to be able to see it farther into flight, but the sound today was excellent.
I will chime in here. That is definitely a hole in the clouds where Falcon 9 went through. It was a perfectly little round, like, spherical hole that it punched right in that little thin wispy cloud over there. It was really cool after it went through it. I kind of kept the camera on it for a little bit. If we get to the replays there, as it kind of expanded and now it's kind of basically widening and the cloud is, kind of getting ripped apart almost. Very cool. I think that's my favorite part about today's launch, honestly.
Oh, it's so cool when it pokes the hole through the clouds and then you kind of just see the clouds afterwards. Love it. And I know we're going to be working on replays. I don't know how much we'll be able to see given said clouds, but we'll take a look. We have all of our different cameras out there, so hopefully you guys will be able to see it with us too. Oh man, that the mission finally launched at least, so that's a good thing. And if you're wondering, geez, man, I want another Falcon 9 launch with more Starlink satellites on it. Yeah, don't worry. There's one at 12:25 a.m. Pacific time on the West Coast. That is Starlink 15-20 out of the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. But yeah, it's so cool to see the hole left in the clouds from when a rocket punches through it. I don't know if we have a view of it, but it'd be pretty cool. There it is. Oh, yeah, there's a hole in the clouds. Cool. Wow, it's parting ways? No, just rocket punch through it. I love that. Oh, man. So the next Cape launch when it comes to this is another Starlink launch from 40, right?
Yep, that'll be Starlink 10-49. Instead of 39, it will be 39. And that one should be on the 25th at the painful time of 1:49 a.m. Eastern. But, it's another Starlink. And yeah, right after that, it'll be Falcon Heavy with the Roman Space Telescope for NASA. So really exciting launch coming up right after that.
Yeah, that one's going to be awesome. But of course, we still have the one on the 25th of August. And then the 30th of August, as of now, is the no earlier than date for the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope launching aboard Falcon Heavy, with the side cores returning back to land, one at LZ2 and the other at LZ40.
And it's going to be odd because one of the side boosters is going to be new and the other one is going to fly on its third flight on that mission. Also, the center core is going to be new. So you've got two boosters are new. One of them has flown already twice. So it's going to be really, really odd to see that Falcon Heavy.
Oh, yeah. And now we've got the replays.
There you go.
So this is from Rusty's at the port, which I saw they just said they're going to be staying at the port for at least 10 more years, re-signing their lease. So that's more fleet cam for all of you, which you could see these, by the way, over on Space Coast Live, our 24/7 feeds. We have two cameras there, so a huge thank you to Rusty's for doing that, and also being a great place to grab a bite to eat while you're at the Cape, too. It's good food. And punching through the cloud. There it goes. And those clouds did not play nice today, but hey, the rockets, the payload was deployed successfully. I think that's the most important part. And this from the one of the robotically placed cameras that we have here at the Kennedy Space Center press site. Punching right through. Wider contact shot there. That space geeks yell at clouds.
We need the behind the scenes one.
I mean, that was so cool to see that one on stream. Yeah. There it is.
There we go. Is that Jerry?
I think it was Jerry clapping, yeah. And then getting ready to track. And there it goes. And There it went. Then when you're trying to track these through a cloud, it's tricky because you're going, all right, well, here's where it is. Here's where it went. Knowing past trajectories, what direction is it going? And you try and predict where it's going to pop out of the clouds. It is not easy.
It's almost exactly what I did for this one. I kind of just blindly aimed the camera at the top of the cloud that I thought it was going to come out of, like right about where it was. It was actually pretty accurate. I was kind of impressed.
Nicely done. Yeah, it's not easy. It's kind of a guessing game in that sort. But here we go. This is the replay, I believe, from Jerry's camera. So we'll take a look.
And starting to track.
There it is. And there it is.
There it isn't.
You and I have been working together too long. We basically know what each other's going to say at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to see if it comes out of the clouds, and it's like, nope.
Oh, it will. It'll come out of the clouds eventually. There it is. Boom.
There.
Perfectly done. Nicely done, Jerry. And then poking in and out of them. Although I will say it is cool watching it through the clouds because it really shows more definition on the exhaust plume. I do like that.
Whose track is this one?
Believe this was DY's. In regular speed because there's not that much to show in slow motion.
Yeah, it's just mo instead of slow mo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I said one of the fairing halves was flying for the 40th time, right? And that
Yeah.
it took a long time. It flew for the first time in 2020. It took
Wow.
6 years. It was August 2020, its first flight.
The times that we try and forget about. Yes, the before times. Or
Yeah.
the during times, actually.
That was actually, yeah, that was during times. Very enduring times indeed. See what I did there? Anyway.
Yeah, that was good. Ethereal Swordsman, by the way, coming in saying, Falcon gets up and out of here pretty quick, much faster than certain other heavy lifters I could name.
Oof.
Man, I don't know, Blue, you could be who you could be talking about. Anyway, if you want more NSF, don't worry. This isn't our only stream for the day. We have more coming up later. We have the Flame Trench, which is our weekly show where we go over some of the exciting things happening in spaceflight, answer your questions, and chat about really bad puns and other cool things too. So you should totally join us for that. We'll go over everything going on in Starship with Ship 40 and the static fires that we just had of Ship 41. Lots of other fun stuff to talk about. Hopefully you'll join us then. That starts at 5 p.m.-ish Eastern time. Alex, I think you'll be there with me, hopefully, right?
Yeah, it'll be the two of us plus Max as well. So it's gonna be an interesting one because it's like I've already seen you in another 2 streams. Even my previous stream during my trip was the eclipse, and you were also there. So we've been on just stream after stream together, I guess. But yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Can't get rid of me. That's all. Thank you as well to Jerry out in the field. And
of
to
course, it's the oops, sorry. Reaching for my it wasn't talking while muted. I was just trying to unmute, period. But yeah, thanks for having me on today. It was good. It was a nice day. It's actually a decent bit cooler than yesterday. A little bit better. The clouds do provide a little bit of positive sometimes, so I will say that.
Yes, and thank you as well, DYs.
It is an absolute pleasure. It's always a good day with the launch, so today was a wonderful day.
Any day where there's a launch is a good day. And then, of course, we had Jay Keegan pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, and producing today's stream. Thank you, Jay. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I have been your host. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you all next time.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Throttling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.